happiness, I extend my warm welcome to every one of you present here for the webinar series on disasters. Today's webinar on the changing scenarios of educational institution is a boon or ban. The webinar is jointly organized by National Institute for Disaster Management and Madras School of Social Work Shift 2 with Pegasus Student Forum. The ground rules for the webinar series: kindly rename your Zoom username into your full name for easy recognition of the participants. Please turn off your camera and microphone during the session for optimum streaming quality. Post all your questions. Post all your questions in the chat box, mentioning only the name of the speaker to which the questions are directed to. Questions will be answered as per the convenience of time. Feedback links will be posted in the Zoom and YouTube chat box. Please do fill in and record your attendance and your evaluation for the session. Now let's start the session. To formally welcome the gathering, I now invite Ms. Debanjini from first year to welcome the speakers and the audience. Ms. Debanjini, over to you now.
Thank you, Akshita. A very good morning to all the dignitaries, guests, and my dear participants gathered today. A pessimist sees the difficulty in every opportunity, and optimist sees the opportunity in every difficulty. On behalf of the National Institute of Disaster Management, PG Department of Social Work Shift 2 and Pegasus Student Forum, I delightfully welcome our esteemed chief guest of the day, Mr. M. Siran, an expert archaeologist, and Dr. V. Madha Suresh, Director of Research, GSGRI Guru Nanak College. I am very honored to welcome Dr. Ajinder Walia from NIDM, our respectful principal Dr. S. Raja Samuel, our beloved head of the department Dr. C. Francis, our supportive faculty coordinators Professor J. Damon Quinn and Professor A. Priya Doris from Madras School of Social Work and other faculty members. Welcoming you all. I'm sure it is going to be a lively and thought-provoking session for all of us. Last but never the least, I welcome the pillars of our support, my dear fellow students and all our participants for gracing this session with your presence. Once again, I welcome you all to the national webinar. I hope you all will have a knowledge-enriching session ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Banjani. We are extremely delighted to have Mr. M. Saran, expert archaeologist in Government State Department of Archaeology at Kiradi Cluster Sites, as a first speaker for the day. I welcome Ms. Manimori from first year to introduce the speaker to the audience.
Good morning to one and all present here. I extend an earnest welcome to all present in the National Webinar Series 8 conducted by Madras School of Social Work, PG Department Shift 2 in collaboration with NIDM and Pegasus Student Forum 2020. I am privileged in introducing one of our honorable speakers of today's webinar, Mr. M. Saran, who is an expert archaeologist in Kiradi excavation. Sir has done his post-graduation MA in Ancient History and Archaeology, MPhil PhD in the same department from University of Madras and won the gold medal common for 3 departments. He also had training in preservation and conservation of antiquities, underwater archaeology and application of remote sensing for archaeology. He served the department as technical assistant, technical officer and lecturer for 3 decades. Sir has participated in more than 12 sites and trained around 30 batches of final PG students of the department in the excavation. He also supported the Indo-Japanese megalithic project of Tokyo University. He currently conducts classes for UG students of various city government colleges under RUSA scheme on religious tourism. During 1996 to 2002 and 2017 to 2019, Sir conducted special lectures on Indian and foreign ceramics for few batches of BFA and MFA students of College of Fine Arts, Chennai. He also led more than 50 teams of amateur archaeologists to various places of archaeological importance throughout India. Sir has more than 30 years of expertise in art, architecture, iconography, classroom lectures, seminar presentations, etc. Recently, he visited Kotripollu site excavated by Archaeological Survey of India and discussed the salient features of Satavahana fortification consisting of brick built bastions, connecting walls and associated structural activity. Sir, I'm glad to invite you to speak a few words. Over to you, sir.
Good morning to everyone. It gives me immense pleasure Video is not coming. Hello, is it audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
But video is not coming.
Yes, sir. We are able to see you now, sir.
Yes. Okay. It gives me immense pleasure of joining this webinar, having been invited by Madras School of Social Work and NIDM. In fact, I like to extend a sense of gratitude to Dr. Madhav Suresh. It is through his effort I could join the entire team of delivering this webinar session. Having acquired experiences in archaeological parlance for more than 4 decades since my inception into the Department of Engineering and Archaeology, University of Madras, as postgraduate student, then continued my further research courses in the same department and served the department. So the moment the webinar coordinators have given the title as spirituality and disaster in its total encapsulating form. So I took, I could be able to present with a historical in a more precise way in archaeological context. So let me start with the early ancient history of the Tamils. So as we happen to be in the state of Tamil Nadu, when we talk of history of Tamil Nadu, it originates only from the Sangam epoch, which is 2,500 years before present, which had been well established by the archaeological excavations conducted at very many sites, arrived from Kavaripumbattanam, Arikamedu, Urayur, Kanchipuram, and very recently, for the 6th season, we have completed the work at Kiradi. So all these excavations clearly prove that the existed civilized society of the Tamils takes back the legacy of the Tamils as far or as early as 2,600 years before present, that is 600 BC. So this is on scientific confirmation of carbon-14 material, which we have recovered and sent it to the Beta Analytics Center through KD. Material remains. We have got the carbon dating as 580 BC. So in that context, the legacy and the heritage of the Tamils goes further beyond 2000 years. So which itself is a pride of the state of Tamil Nadu, the Tamil population throughout the world, wherever they exist. So let me recall how to frame the history. History, what is divine history? History means anything which is recapitulated or confirmed of the facts based on historical records. So as the writing came into being, the history emanated. So it is only from that phase. So as far the Indian subcontinent is concerned, we can relate it and take it back right up to 5,500 years before through the Indus civilization, cities being excavated and the material remains. So prior to that, we get only the material remains of the prehistoric man who have left, having used it and utilized it in various phases of prehistoric settlements. We call such age as the rudimentary stage of development. But in fact, man's occurrence or the existence of man's on this earth planet came into being only 2 million years. As for the Indian subcontinent is concerned, very recently, the excavations at Atrambakam have proved that the traces of human beings' occupation in the form of cave shelters and the footprints traced from Atrambakam and Gudiyam caves has been scientifically and paleontologically dated as 15 lakh years before present. So based on these, right from man's inception into this earth planet, he had come across very many natural havocs and as a result, he built himself to face such a climatic and other disasters and to equip not only he but also his fellow human beings having been protected from the wrath of nature and the animal kingdom. So thereupon he became civilized. So as and when he became cultured, settled in pockets, he developed the art of writing, and it is in that way the emergence of writing alone came into being called as the historical phase of human occupation on this world. So in this context, Tamil Nadu had its early form of writing in the form of writings on the potsherds recovered from Kidadi, Arikamedu, Kavari Pumbadinam, Korkai, Kodumanal, and very many sites, Kanchipuram. So all these clearly indicate that the dating habit or the practice of writing by the early Tamils goes back as early as 2600 years, which has been scientifically proved and assessed and established. So in that context, prior to the excavations of Kavari Pumbadinam, which was held between 63 and 72, it was presumed and it was conjecturally taken through the literary evidences of the Sangam literature, namely எட்டு தொகை பத்து பாட்டு 11 கீழ்கணக்கு 11 மேல் கணக்கு ஐம்பெரும் காப்பியும் ஐம்பெரும் காப்பியும். So altogether around 50 ancient literature of the Tamils give a vivid picture about of the Tamils who existed in that age. But till the advent of archaeological missions through excavations, explorations and excavations, people did not have concrete support of the literary evidences and they accepted it. When the excavation at Kamari Pumatinam unraveled three major brick structural activity, namely the wharf, which is nothing but a jetty projecting into the coastal waters meant for tying the vessels, which is to carry the cargoes from the harbor to the large vessels, and similarly to bring back the unloaded materials from the larger vessels into the coastal area. So Pattinapalai Silapadigaram gives a vivid account about the type of commodities which came into Kavari Pumatinam, and similarly we also get cross references from the Greco-Roman geographer's note Periplus of the Erythraean Sea, which is nothing but an anonymous work which gives a vivid account about the coastal port towns wherein the Greco traders settled and had the trade contacts. Initially, they touched these pockets of the peninsular ports and they have acquainted with the coastal settlement, and thereupon they have left some kind of what you call diary notes in their geographical writings. Similarly, Periplus and Strabo and all these writers give vivid account about the existence of the port cities which existed on the coastal belt of Tamil Nadu and Kerala, stretching from Brouch, that is the extreme point, western point of the Indian subcontinent, adjoining the Gujarat coast and till Calcutta. So all these regions have been referred in Sangam literature as well as in Greco-Roman literature, geographers note. So Ptolemy, when he refers about Kavari Pumatinam, he refers the port town as Periplus, refers the port town as Kaberi's Emporion, which means, which is a port town of collecting all the inland commodities and similarly the commodities from the neighboring countries of transoceanic contacts, and in turn they got exchanged and went to different parts of their destinations. To quote Pattinapalai and Silapadigaram once again, Gangai Variyum, Kavari Painum, Yidatunavum, Karagatha Akamam. These are all the poetic phrases. So these are all nothing but Gangai Vari. So the producers from the Gangetic region reached the coastal area, coastal town of the Sangam Cholas, Kavari Pumbutinam. Similarly, the Kavari pine, which is a non-perennial river, which had yielded and produced very many vegetative commodities, which were also brought together to this port town. And similarly, commodities from Sri Lanka, Edathu Unavum, the food products from Ceylon, Kadagatha Akamam, the finished goods from Southeast Asian countries, particularly from Kedah, Burma, and adjoining areas, Bali, Borneo. So all these commodities have came in, and in other contexts, how the Romans had, Greco-Romans had their trade contacts with the Tamils had been aptly quoted. Ponnodu vandu pariyodu payarndu. So this is the beautiful line recurring in the literatures on many instances, which means the Greco-Romans as traders came with gold, and they returned with pepper bags for their consumption. So in turn, the Indian coastal town Kavaripuntam received the gold from the Greco-Romans, and as a result, even now, very recently, hardly during 1990s and 2000 till 2000, there are some ladies who have a garland worn around their neck, which they call it as Kashumalai. And some of the older Kashumalai contains the typical Roman coins in situ in their what you call the garland, golden garland necklace. So when we trace Sangam literature is nothing but a literature ecologically balanced and environment friendly, projects the standard of living of that particular society so naturally. And to quote, Tolkapiam is the earliest work which states about four types of geographical divisions which existed, non-ilam. And in turn, it also speaks about Aindinai. So when we talk of Aindinai, so we come across how the society uh, geographically divided and came into being, and accordingly they started having their own dwelling places and started living and getting cultured and civilized at a later point of time. So Aindinai, Kurinji Mullai, Marudam, Neidal, Palai. So every one of you, majority of you, will definitely be aware of these five Thinais. So every Thinai has the typical geographical features. For example, Kurinji, which is nothing but hills and adjoining areas. Mullai, the forest and adjoining areas. Marudam, paddy fields or fields adjoining areas. Neidal, coastal belt. And Palai is the barren land wherein no plant or what we call crops can come up. So it is a barren land. So where living will definitely be harder than the other localities. So of these five things, there are also type of people who lived there, and the profession they had, occupation they had. Kurinji people naturally hunter-gatherers, and the Mullai people were the cowards and shepherds. So they reared um, uh, sheep and cattle. And the Maradhan people, were the agriculturists, they till the soil and raise the crops. Neither people, they were the seafarers. They ventured into the sea and procured the wealth of natural resource from the coastal waters in the form of fish, marine objects for their livelihood. And in turn, salt is also manufactured by the Neither people. But as for Kotravai, is considered to be the goddess of the Palai. So invariably, all this land has typical, what you call personified forms of divinities. For Kurinji, it is Seyon, who is none other than Lord Muruga, the Tamil god. And for Mullai, it is Lord Krishna, who is otherwise in Tamil terminology called as Karmegavannan Kannan. So for Marudam, it is Varunan, so rain god. And for Neidal, it is what we call the coastal belt. It is Indra, where wind is very much required to bring the rainy clouds and shower waters into the coastal water to maintain the water table throughout the globe. And for Palai, the goddess is Kotravai, who is none other than Lord Goddess Durga. So the very appearance of Goddess Durga will be so ferocious. So it is akin to the environment. They have personified these deities, and in turn, at a later point of time, they have been given what you call iconic forms. It is only from the late 4th or 5th century AD, that is hardly 1500 to 1600 AD, the deification, the image worship had been given a shape, and accordingly the agamas and silpa texts have been codified, and accordingly they got developed to the recent days. Prior to that, we did not have any what you call religious forms. It is only nature have been prized, and in turn such natural elements, namely the 5 elements: earth, water, fire, ether, and sky. So all these have been personified. In turn, the Vedas too propitiate only these forms of nature in the deified forms. They are nothing but fire is equated with Agni, wind is equated with Indra and Vayu, and rain is um, compared to Varuna, because he considered to be the lord of rain bringing. And similarly, Kotravai is nothing but the ferocious attitude of what you call raging a war over, or the natural disaster when that occurs in the form of flood, famine, drought, earthquake. All these nothing but the natural way of disasters. So I am very much interested, and I am quite satisfied with the title with both the departments have chosen for the webinar as spirituality and disaster. So in turn, the nature provides how to overcome, but we cannot excel in the fury of nature, because nature has its own course of action, and we can only abide to it and adjust to it and accommodate ourselves to the required situation, thereby to overcome such a disaster. So in that way, the title goes very well, go in hand parallelly to support each other. So here, let me point out how spirituality comes into the rescue of disaster. Spirituality, what is this, spirituality? Spirituality is the highest quality of man for doing welfare measures beyond mankind, and for the next generations to come. That is spirituality. Without selflessness, self-centeredness, that is spirituality. So to put it in another way, it is holy, it is sacred, and it is what you call angelic. So in whatever terminology you like to define spirituality, you can define it. So in this context, let me recall the poetic phrase of Tamil saint poet Vallalar, who is popularly termed as Aruprakasa Vallalar, having hailed from Marudur, a village adjacent to Chidambaram, in the year 1823, 11th, 5th October, and he is to exist in the year 1874 at Metukuppam, where he entered into a chamber and asked his fellow disciples not to open the chamber. If they open in between, he may not be seen in physical form. So, and when being pressed by the government machinery, Britishers, they opened the chamber. After some weeks, they found nothing except the vacuum room, that is air-filled room, nothing else. So in that frame, he had retained the nature in the form of light. That's a spiritual quality of Saint Vallalar. So here I like to quote his poetic phrase from Arutpa, Thiru Arutpa. Vaadiya Pairai Kanda Podallam Vaadinai. And by his time, there was too much of famine which existed throughout the country, in particular Tamil Nadu, to be so specific of the areas around Kadalur and Chidambaram area. When he was walking on the paddy fields, he could see the um, the plantations without getting proper rainfall. They started dwindling in their nature and shrinking of their real, what you call the robust nature of a plant. So having realized it, he makes it as a prayer to the Almighty or to the environment, supernatural power, nature. The moment he looked, as and when he looked at the dwindling plants in dire need of water, he um, he worried about the helplessness of those plants, and in turn approached the nature, and as a result showers came into being to many hectares of land in that locality. So this is the highest sense of spirituality which anyone talk about, which is nothing but jiva karunyam, because we always talk about fellow human spirituality, that is not harming the human beings. It should be extended to the animals and other living entities. That is the uh, extreme level of what you call spirituality, which poet saint, Tamil poet saint Ballalar propounded as a Samarasa Suddha Sanmarka Sangam. That's a philosophy which he propounded. Similarly, after his birth, we all know about Swami Vivekananda, who emerged in the year 1863 and ceased to exist hardly 39 years till 2002. Sorry, 1902. He survived. But when he had been to the Chicago conference, he uttered, what did he utter? My brothers and sisters of America at Chicago conference in the year 1893. So this was the real gospel message carrying the spirituality of Indian subcontinent to the furthest western part of the globe, and caught what we call the real clutches of the hearts of every nation. And as a result, the other nations started looking at the Indian subcontinent towards the greatness of spirituality and the uniqueness of spirituality, which is propounding the oneness and well-being of every living entity on earth. So in that context, let me cite some of the archaeological importance in the form of sculptural representation and construction. Let me put it this way. When we talk of the sculptural representation which came into being in Tamil land only from the late centuries, later than the Sangam literature, right from 4th, 5th century AD, that is 1600 years before present. So we get the sculptural representations. Let me take one example. Can you picture the cave architecture? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That one man milking the cow. You can show that image.
This one, sir?
Yes, yes,
Or like this one?
yes.
Okay, sir.
Both the one the other. From this picture, can you show me the picture so that I can explain accordingly? It's not coming to my screen.
Sir, I have shared the screen.
Uh,
Uh,
which picture? The milking cow or the man who is lifting it?
the cow, which is like many cows
Yes.
are there, and
there is another standing personality with his left arm touching the ceiling. Can you put that picture first?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. I have displayed it.
So this is the large sculptural panel. It's a high relief sculpture um, carved on the eastern facade of Mahabalipuram Hilak, just behind the Salasayana Perumal temple of Mahabalipuram, and the southern side of the largest panel of what we call Arjuna penance. So this is actually within a pillared pavilion. You can see the image of a tall, long fellow who is none other than Lord Krishna. He is lifting the Govardhana Giri. So this is nothing but the episode from Mahabharata, which is being portrayed in a sculptural representation. Here, when Lord Indra, having not been given the due ritual to be performed by the Gopas, the Nanda Maharaja, having been instigated by Lord Krishna in his childhood, instead of giving such or conducting such festival in favor of Indra, why don't you offer it to me? He asked. So, being his son, he offered it to Lord Krishna in his childhood form, and as a result, what happened? Lord Indra got raged, and he immediately thought of attacking the entire Yedukula Vamsha, that is the clan coward shepherd community from which Lord Krishna arose as a sibling and rose to prominence as a heroic leader of Mahabharata. So, in order to teach a lesson, Lord Indra ordered his subordinates, namely Varuna and Thunderbolt, to heavily downpour, as we recently come across heavy showers um, uh, of the early 2005 Madras flooding situation, and very recent days we have come across such flooding, rain, thundering showers of the sky, flooding the entire state of Tamil Nadu. So in that context, what happened? Without knowing what to do, the cowards, they who might not have in that age, might not have that much permanent shelters as we majority of us have right now. So they took a refuge and sought the help of Lord Krishna, and Lord Krishna immediately lifted Mount Govardhana and provided a large cave so that he can accommodate the entire covered community into it. And I hope majority of the participants could have either visited Mahabalipuram or had seen and viewed, heard about this particular cave sculptural representation of Mahabalipuram, representing the Govardhana Gari episode of Lord Krishna. Here, when you clearly and closely watch each and every feature of the gatherings of not only the cowards, but also their what you call cattle, and at the extreme southern point where the hill recedes, you can also find deers, wild animals. There is also a sphinx-like form, that is lion body with a human head. So all these are have been aptly portrayed. The date of this goes to 7th century, when Mamalla, that is Narsimha Varma, the son and successor of Mahendra Varma, who had his kingdom ruled, Pallava kingdom ruled between 630 to 668 AD. So it was only during that phase this cultural representation was chiseled out to portray the grand episode of Lord Krishna lifting the Govardhana hill and giving shelter and protection to the what we call the highly furiated and disturbed coward clans from the wrath of Lord Indra. And thereupon he realized that he is none other than the supernatural power. So in this way, sculptural representation gives how the spirituality comes into the rescue of the disaster management. in the early centuries of the Christian era. Similarly, to quote, Pattinapalai gives a clear reference about the wrath of Lord Indra once again at the coastal town, making a deluge to occur, which is nothing but tsunami. The existence of tsunami 2000 years before present at Kaveri Pumadan and the adjoining port towns of the eastern and the western coast of the peninsula region ravaged and swallowed much of its fortified cities, township, and some of which have been through underwater archaeological expeditions have been recorded very recently. And in this context, how spirituality of the Indian subcontinent helps in disaster management. So once again, let me extend a vote of thanks, a sense of gratitude to the organizing committee members of the Madras School of Social Work, National Institute of Disaster Management, and above all, it is one Dr. Madhav Suresh who had lent me an entry into this forum and share my thought to you all. So I thank one and all for patient hearing. If at all you have any questions, you can post it on. And to end with, Kiradi has many antiquities. Around 16,000, 17,000 antiquities have been recovered in all the 6 seasons. And as for the fourth season, when the Tamil Nadu state government ventured as its first attempt at Kiradi after the closure of Archaeological Survey of India's excavation at Kiradi, after 3 years from the fourth season, Tamil Nadu government has taken it up and it is conducting in a wonderful manner with scientific support and aids of taking and coordinating almost all the sciences into the archaeological parlance for the establishment of the existed Tamil civilization which existed at Kiradi to project the heritage of the Tamils. So in that context, in the current season, which has recently been stopped in the month of September, we have excavated in the adjoining localities as cluster sites of Kiradi, Agaram, Manarur, Kondagai. Kondagai is the burial site associated with Kiradi, which is also 2,500 years before present. Similarly, Agaram is a settlement area wherein we have come across too many wells within a few square meters of, within hardly 20 square meters of the dug out area. So clearly proves that they had the sense of tapping the natural water, natural resource of water at their backyard. So in this way, how disaster educates the society, thereby to get developed and face such a disaster in the future and to overcome and have a better living. So in that context, the ring bells from Kiradi, Agaram, and very many places in Tamil Nadu clearly proves how to tap the natural water resource and for their livelihood. Thank you very much. Hello.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay.
Thank you so much for such a thought-provoking and inspiring session. We are happy to have our next speaker, Dr. V. Madha Suresh, Director of Research, GSGRI in Guru Nanak College, as a second speaker for the day. I welcome Ms. Ruth Karunya from first year to introduce the speaker to the audience.
Yeah, very good afternoon to one and all present over here. I would like to extend my warm welcome and gratitude to everyone present here for being a part of our national webinar. I'm privileged in introducing one of our honorable speaker of today's webinar, Dr. V. Madha Suresh. Dr. V. Madha Suresh is currently working as Director of Research, GSDRI in Guru Nanak College. He was a former professor and head of the Center for National Hazards and Disaster Studies, University of Madras. From 1995 to 2000, served as an assistant director at Inland Waterways Authority of India, Ministry of Surface Transport, Government of India, New Delhi. He was also an assistant professor in the Geography Department of National Council of Education, Research and Training, Ministry of Human Resource and Development, Government of India, New Delhi, from 1997 to 2000. After that, from 2001 to 2015, Sir served as an assistant associate and professor in Geography Department, University of Madras, Chennai. Sir has done numerous national and international research projects. He completed his undergraduate in geography with botany and geology as allied subjects from Government Arts College, Salem, and Bachelor of Education from Annamalai University. Also, he has done his post-graduation in geography from University of Madras and Masters of Education from Annamalai University. He pursued his MPhil, PhD, and postdoctoral program from University of Madras. Currently, Sir is pursuing MBA and he is devoted to his field. Sir, it is eminent for us to have you here spending a valuable time for this occasion among us today. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Ma. Thank you for your nice introduction. Could you hear me?
Yes, sir, we are
Yes.
able to hear you.
But there's some technical problem. Last week it was okay. Now the camera is not showing properly.
Sir, actually, there is an option like the camera will be off. Straight to the escape button, you can see the camera button, sir. If you click that, it will just
Yes,
go.
yes, I tried.
Okay, sir.
That's cleared. But the top left, where showing my name now, there they put a cross mark. Camera slash. That means camera is not in display position. That's what is simple to show on. But anyway, first I tried to say a few things. I have two presentation. One is on disaster and one is spirituality. Just to allow me whether that system is taken up my PowerPoint presentation.
So you are the co-host, so you can share the screen, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Yes.
It's okay. It is.
Yes, sir. It is visible.
It is now okay. Slides. Okay, good afternoon to one and all. At the outset, I thank the principal of Madras School of Social Work and the head of the department of social work and student organizers and NRDM for given an opportunity. For second time, just I want to share some of the facts and figure with you people related to disaster and spirituality. But the title is given spirituality and disaster. So we can put it either a prefix or suffix. It doesn't matter. The but the spirituality, it's not a easy topic. Everybody can talk, and since you people requested my senior, my mentor, my advisor, Dr. Saran immediately accepted and delivered a very good talk on spirituality towards disaster, how the disaster management has been considered, followed, putting into practice in those days during the civilization period. I thank him also for acceptance of my request as well as your request and given a very good presentation. So before I start, I sincerely apologize to you. I am not a specialist in spirituality, but whatever I have a little knowledge with my experience, just I want to share with you. So before go for spirituality, but I think your given time is only 20 minutes. 10 minutes I will start about disaster, and another 10 minutes let us talk about spirituality. Okay. So the word the disaster and hazard, every individual, be educated or uneducated people should know about the fact of the disaster or the understanding of the disaster, then the knowledge of the disaster, then the application of a disaster management or the procedures, the practices, then the attitude. So if you take any personality, any human beings, they have the rudimentary, the knowledge or fact, then understanding, then application, then attitude. So while he grows, that's why we used to say it is a minimum level of learning. While age grows, and also our attitude also will go up. When the attitude will come, once you reach a particular stage, then you'll have attitude. Without request made by the victim or someone or some refugees, and voluntarily there are many people or millions of people that are coming forward to help. That is the attitude. Okay, so we have to understand all this level of learning. Okay. And you might have seen in the newspaper and various print media and mass media and television and all, somebody they say disaster and somebody says hazard and somebody say calamities. There are different terminology being used knowingly or unknowingly. But a disaster is the one where once the event takes place, irrespective of a natural disaster or a man-made disaster, once the event is taken place, that we call the disaster. So the disaster is an act which wherein it give detrimental effect to the all kind of environment. There may be a loss of various species, so there will be a loss of properties, there will be loss of ecology and many more things. Okay, this is a disaster. Hazard is the one, it is a notion, a concept, or a thought wherein the same hazard may give a destruction within a fraction of a second, or it may take many months or years. So, for example, pollution. So we are applying the application of a DDT without application of our mind for over period of time, and as a result, now we are facing a lot of health issues. Even in Telangana, we found that there are mysterious illness with many people, irrespective of age and gender. But finally, they came to know that there are two theories prevalent. One is the application of excess amount of DDT, and the other one is the rice is smeared with that mercury. So because of these two things, the people are facing the health issues, health hazard in this region. So uh, let us go to what are the different kind of disaster or hazard, but I already mentioned why we have to understand. So to save ourselves and to save our kith and kin, we should understand about the disaster and its different kinds. Already said there are the two kind of disaster. One is natural, other one is man-made. Okay, so Aristotle and many philosophers in those days, they postulate two types of a thought. So that thought we called as a determinism and a possibilism. So what is this determinism? So those philosophers, they thought the nature is a super being. Nature is considered as a super being. A human being or any other living beings cannot go against the nature. For instance, my senior said a tsunami, a cyclone, or a landslide, okay, or what is called a cloud burst, or what is mud flow, any kind of natural, even the flood, storm, drought. So these are natural the natural phenomena. Man cannot do anything with this. He cannot overcome all kind of floods or landslides or drought on its own. That's why they postulate the theory of determinism. In contrast, possibilism. So these the another group of a philosopher, they postulate uh, possibilism, wherein they consider a human being is in the top. Human has got enormous power. If a man thinks he can dismantle the earth within a second with a pieces. So that's why they consider this human influence are there in a man-made hazard. For example, road accident in Topur Konamai, there was a road accident. Why it happened? Because of human beings, negligence. Then railway accident, who is the fact? The human. Let it be air accident or fire or chemical, biological, even atomic, terrorism, building of collapse and oil spill, etc. All are thanks to the human intervening a disaster. Okay. So I request you once 10 minutes over, just to remind me, I will go for the another slide. Okay. Otherwise, I will take long. Like Saran sir is a good teacher, so I also will keep on talk. But unless you stop, I cannot stop. Okay. So after 10 minutes, just stop. Then I will go to next slide for spirituality. Okay.
Sure, sir. Will.
So cyclone normally occurs in the tropical region. So what is the tropical region? The region between Tropic of Cancer and the Capricorn, wherein since that insulation, the incoming solar radiation falls vertically over this region, the equatorial region or temperate region, the amount of the heat will be more. As a result, the water in those area also will be evaporated, and also the plants and other animals also may release evapotranspiration. As a result, it forms cloud, then cloud gives rise to precipitation. So precipitation is not a rainfall, it also have mist, fog, hails, sleet, and so on. So that cyclone normally occurs only in the most of the time in the tropical region. The simple reason, the cyclone forms because of two reasons. The number one is the ocean body, because you know pretty well 70 to 75% of the our planet Earth is covered with water. Only 25 to 30% covered with the land mass. So what is the difference between land and water? Once sunshine comes or heat energy comes, the water takes long time to get heat, to warm. But whereas land, it will absorb the heat very quickly, and also it will release quickly. It will release. So that's why we have at noontime we have a temperature about 40 degree. At evening it may be 6 or 7 degree, or sometimes minus degree in the desert regions. But where ocean is not like that. It will retain the heat. It will take long time to release the heat back. So before releases heat then next day the temperature will increase that I mean that the water in the warm condition. So the sea surface is warm in condition, and air. What is the air? Air is nothing but a mixture of various gases we call as air. And also, if the same air is found about 5,000 to 10,000 square kilometer area, we call it as a air mass. Okay, we have two types of air mass. One is a cold air mass and a warm air mass. So let it be cold air mass or warm air mass. Once it approaches due to some a reason, due to mm, what is called a tectonic movement or many reasons. Once the mass, air mass comes near to the ocean body, since the water is very heat, so that because of the heat, the air will become warm. Once the air become warm, since the mass or weight is reduced, it will suspend over the ocean. Once the sky is clear, if temperature is very high, the vertical rays falls on the air mass. What will happen? That the humidity will be dried up. As a result, the air will get warm. So once air get warm, what will happen? That the mass and weight will be reduced. So once the weight is reduced, the big air mass covering some 5,000 to 10,000 square kilometer
Excuse me.
area mass will it will rise above the the surface of the ocean. Once it rise, so
Excuse
there
me.
will be a vacuum. That is a low pressure. So in the surroundings, if you have a high pressure of the air, it will come towards the low pressure. As a result, it will it will cause the cyclone. Once the cyclone causes, it also will pull all other
Excuse
clouds.
me, sir.
Please.
Sorry, it's a gentle reminder, sir. You have asked me to remind me in 10 minutes. The first
Oh,
10 minutes is over, sir.
sorry.
Thank
So,
you, sir.
okay, thanks. Sorry, extremely sorry. So that's what I was thinking. I was teaching just like our MSc regular students. Sorry, extremely sorry. So I give only one example. This over. So once all clouds comes, then it will give enormous rainfall or storm. So that will cause a disaster, and the wind speed also may give rise to what is called ghost wind. It may damages many plants and the buildings and other things. So like that, we have various issues related to the cyclone. Okay, then flood and the landslide, drought. We have three types of drought: agriculture drought, meteorological drought, and uh, hydrological drought. So this is also due to the natural and earthquake. It is also a natural one, but sometimes human-induced earthquake also happening because of dam construction. Then tsunami. My friend told about the tsunami. Tsunami mostly occurs if any disturbance, tectonic disturbance occurred in the land area, it may give rise to some kind of waves. So that waves we call it as a earthquake. The same waves occurs in the water. Because of that wave, the water will be released from the epicenter, and it will come towards the seashore. So if you see that that tsunami wave speed, it will be just like a aircraft, jet aircraft speed, some 800 to 900 square kilometer speed, with a depth of more than 6,000 meters, almost 6 kilometer depth. So once it reaches seashore with a great speed, with long waves, once it reaches seashore, what will happen? It will rise up to 20 to 30 meters high. Once falls, so what are the materials is there? What are the animals, human beings there? Everything will be washed out. So this is we call it tsunami. The tsunami happens. We cannot say we have scientific knowledge. Still, we have America also with displaced tsunami warning system, but every time it disproves. Okay, I will talk about the tsunami issues during my spiritual talk. Then storm. Already discussed about the man-made this one. So these are the other issues: heat waves and the snow avalanches, the droughts, sea erosions, and the biological epidemics. For example, COVID-19. We have SARS. We have H1N1. So all considered as a biological the disasters. And the pest locust is a kind of like a cricket kind of cockroach. What is grasshopper. So it devastates entire Africa and Iran and a part of North India. As a result, it gives a lot of issues, and the cattle epidemics and food poisonings very common. It happened in Japan, where the releasing of mercury from the industries is caused a blue burn baby. Okay, and the nuclear and many disasters are happening. Anyway, during the question answers, I will explain all those things. The forest fire, it happened because of the negligence of the human beings as well as the natural way, and the serial bomb blast in a church, even the temple, even in the mosque, electrical disasters and the fires. Okay, so I will go to the next session about spirituality. Uh, okay. So, can you visualize? Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So, why the spirituality comes into the disaster? So, there is a big question. So, always the term spirituality, we cannot say that this is the actual definition of the spirituality. So, every religion, every country, they're using the concept of spirituality in a different manner. But that the little meaning of the spirituality has expanded over a period of time, many years, and they're using various terminology uh, 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 during the period of that time. Even each religion we consider as a spirituality in the different way. So traditionally, it has been considered it is a religious process of reformation which aims to recover the original shape of a man. Professor Sharon also might have told you, because I was away for some time, about that civilization. When the civilization starts, when they found that water bodies, they started the civilization, finding the water bodies, raising of crops, raising of cattle. So when they found the wheel, from the wheel they tried to uh, uh, prepare pot, and from the wheel they made many wheels for bullock cart and a fire. The scientific spirit started with the fire. So once the civilization starts, and also man tried to, from the barbarian culture, they wanted to be in an ordered manner. So as a result, they wanted to uh, follow a certain process. So that we call as either a religious process or a spirituality and so on. So finally, they said all the religious process, they will give finally the image of God. We say God, whether God is existing or not, it depends upon the individual and it depends on religion. But we have some fear about the God, so that everybody will follow the principles. So that's why they're focusing towards the God, and also exemplified by the founders and the sacred text of the religion of the world. So the term was within the early Christianity to refer life oriented toward the Holy Spirit, and broadened during the late Middle Ages to include a mental aspect of the life. The recent times, the term both spread to other religions also, and it's broadened to refer to a wider range of experience, including a range of historic traditions and religious traditions. There is a modern time. It is a subjective experience of sacred dimensions and deepest values and meanings by which people live, often in context separate from the organized religious institutions. We have various institutions, certain things we cannot disclose here also. And we have a supernatural realm and a personal growth, and very eager for an ultimate and a sacred meaning and a religious experience and an encounter with one's own inner dimensions. Hello? Hello? Would you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay. So, if you say spiritual, certainly you have to talk about a culture. If you talk about a culture, then again you have to think about a religion and a nation. So everything is interwoven, just like a cloth, how the cloth is interwoven with many yarns, like that. Everything is interwoven. Okay. So if you talk about the culture, people may say it is a tradition, but a tradition and a culture are almost the same, but there is a slight differences. Culture is one belief or rituals being practiced, I mean, put in a practice from ancestral. Whatever the ancestor hand over to the younger one follow up. So as a result, it is keep on going. So the culture is having a different spectrum. Our language is a culture, our dress is a culture, our food habit is a culture, the marriage pattern is a culture. But each religion having different cultural things. Religion you have many religion. All the religion is focusing for peace, love, affection, helping all. So no religion is against humankind. No religion is against nature. No religion is against any other living beings. So that's a religion. It's just like ice cream. Ice cream may be in a different color. All our religion are different, but finally it gives us sweet. So that is the love and affection and other things. So we cannot say in the world which religion is higher and lower or a middle order. All religion stands in the same level. Your religions wanted to help the living beings and the nation. So country like India, we respect all the religions, but there are certain countries they have uh, focus only a particular nation. There are certain minorities also. So in the event of a disaster and the recovering process or for preparedness, for disaster reduction, irrespective of a culture, irrespective of religion, and irrespective of a nation, we have to come together to save that issues. Okay, so the compassion is also is understood cutting across the cultures, the religions, and the nations. I have seen in foreign countries also how people respect each country. You say the particular country they love and so they love and affection so much because of our culture. And being a compassionate and empathetic is a basic responsibility of healthcare providers responding to the disasters. Even in the, for COVID-19 also, so cutting across many religions and all people are they coming forward to help all the peoples. Okay, so the compassion and empathy cannot be operationalized unless provided so culturally competent and ethically right and spiritually caring behavior. If we don't have all those things, we cannot say it is a compassion. See, in addition to accepting the culture other than their own, products must read literature and familiarize themselves with the predominant cultures of the affected population. So, what kind of a population? So, what is their cultural need? So, what is the requirement? If you don't understand about the cultural, you cannot help them. Okay, so I was in Sri Lanka after the tsunami, and many men and women they went up to what is called coconut tree. Many people because that level water has come, everybody was hanging in the coconut tree without sometimes a proper food. This thing and want water resides, and local people, the other community, they came forward, they helped those people. So ethically, the right decision making is essentially of an act of balancing the risk and the benefit to the entire society. The spiritual care is an important dimension of our total health, and therefore, recognition and resolution of spiritual needs of disaster victims is an essential role of a healthcare providers. So, disaster management is a teamwork. We have involved various stakeholders, and therefore requires the healthcare providers to draw the expertise and support other team members, coordinating efforts with the local religious, social, government organizations, NGOs to deal with the intangible effect of the cultural and spiritual impact of a disaster and to prevent further demoralization of the affected community is imperative. So disaster occurs, and the only thing that can ameliorate their devastating effects is to improve disaster preparedness and respond collectively and courageously to every catastrophic event. So disaster preparedness. So before disaster happens, that's why the title has given disaster risk reduction. In Japan, there is a place called Sendai. So during 5 years back, the Sendai, they have a convention on the disaster. They put forth the disaster risk reduction. Disaster may happen at any moment, any second. Okay. So we have to be prepared in well and out. That's why they're given title disaster risk reduction. So disaster occurrences exceed the capacity of the people affected to recover from the adverse effect. Even take America, voluminous country, very rich country, advanced in the technology, but see that COVID-19 is devastating like anything because unexpected victims. Okay, because there is no proper preparedness. Okay, Then understanding types of a disaster and components of the disaster responses provides a basis for developing disaster preparedness plans. If there is no plan, the plan will fail you. That is a Chinese proverb. So why China, when compared to all other countries, why China is very progress? Because they have all long-term plan. They will put plan for
Excuse
100
me, sir.
years. What is the plan? Hello?
Excuse me, sir.
Sir?
As a gentle reminder, sorry to interrupt you. As
Okay.
you said, it's the second 10 minutes is over. So just as a gentle reminder to
So
tell you.
shall take another 5 minutes?
Yeah, sure, sir.
Sir. So the plan is very, very important. So we have a long-term plan and a short-term plan, a middle-level plan. But the plan, if it doesn't plan, the entire system will collapse. But for disaster preparedness also we require a plan. That's what I want to give emphasis here. So the planning can mitigate or reduce the damages and facilitate a rapid and effective disaster response services. And people like you, health care workers, and including midwife, women's health providers can access resources. Resources may be building or material or transportation or communication, food, shelter, cloth, many things. So prepared as a competent responders in disaster context to meet the need of a woman and the communities. So religion versus spiritual. So religious and the spiritual experience reveals in ever-changing milieu of a culture, institution, social environment, and a physical place. But it happens when we have a mass tragedy strikes. In America, you can see shoot out in the school, shoot out in the colleges, in the open place. So you might have seen the shooting of in a synagogue is like a temple and a mosque and a temple in the church. So even when hurricane attacks and people are suffering, and which is important to give them the proper attention. And what role might local faith communities play in facilitating healing and resilience? So healing after the disaster, people will want drama, mentally they will be disturbed. If you have the state of health, it accounts two things. One is the physical health, one is the mental health. So if a person is healthy, you should have both physical health and mental health. But after the disaster, most of the people have a mental disaster. So that's why we should have a competent to give them a healing effort. So healing effort through the spiritual of a different religion, and the resilience. Resilience one, how the people are coping up with the disaster incident. So resilience, how they can able to sustain with the circumstances. Okay, so that experience of faith in the context of a mass drama and a disaster, an attachment object relations, affective neuroscience and ecological system theories prevails. And specifically, we propose the multidimensional framework of embodied spirituality to capture the dynamic interplay of cognitive, affective. Cognitive is understanding, affective is the action, and psychomotor or the social process. They are experiencing and restoring the sense of sacred in the aftermath of mass strategy. And the spirituality and the recovery. So spirituality and recovery is normally considered as a victims or a natural fit for each other. And the healing from the drama can be a challenging process. For example, after the tsunami 2004, we had a MOU with York University, Canada. A team of people like you, they came here. There is Anju Kudase is a slum just opposite Central Station. So we intervened in the slum area. Sorry, I'll take another 5 minutes, please. So in that area, and we with even school, Meta School of Social Work people also, they came for some 10 people for the internship during this project. So we, with the student community, we identified what is the condition of the other people, and many people, all street vendors, and the husband are already alcoholic, and now they're more alcoholic that time, and 3-4 people has committed suicide because the lack of money, there is a lack of livelihood, so they committed suicide. And also we seen, and many people are the brushing with what is called the powder made by bricklin, sorry, what's called செங்கல் என்ன சொல்லுங்க இங்கிலீஷ்ல செங்கல் Hello, hello.
Bricks.
Bricks and charcoal. So then we brought our doctor team. Then we checked the people. Then we give advice. You're not supposed to uh, uh, brush with charcoal or bricks powder. Then we also given many students, I mean many the local boys, they're playing what is called the gambling kind of things, they're using chewing gum, those kind of things. Then we have a Tamil Nadu cricket club physiotherapist. So with this help, then we provided cricket ball and bat, and people now I think Chennai 28 film also made out of these people, okay, at that time. So these are kind of interventions we made, and we saw that there was some kind of a development in these regions. So that's why I mentioned Anjukurisi as a case study. And many people, the recovery from the incident and accepting a personal responsibility is a very painful. There may be a loss of a breadwinner and so on. And practicing spirituality can provide healing from the past mistakes. And spiritual healing often involves forgiveness, reconnecting with the others, and finding sense of a belonging. Some people promote healing by journaling regularly. So even in the Andaman Nicobar Island, we say you have a sound technology, supersonic technology, cutting edge technology. But after the tsunami, 2004 tsunami, in the middle Agabar, more than lakhs of people has been, most of the people are submerged because of the tsunamis. But the anthropological survey of India, they had a aerial survey. They found no single tribal has been fatal. Every tribal, they have the traditional knowledge system. See, before the event of disaster, everybody is gone to higher altitude. They escaped from the tsunami. So that the individual knowledge system. So with the system only, the people escaped from this tsunami. Okay. The spirituality and the health, and no one really knows for sure how spiritually is related to health, because everybody going to temple or a church or a mosque just to keep our health in a good manner. So that is the main thought of interest of individual. And however, it seems the body, the mind, and the spirits are well connected. But I want to give you some example, but no time already. If during question answer time permits, I'll elaborate about the yoga,
Yes, sir.
eat metal, well and all.
Yes.
And the health of any one of these elements seems to be affect others. And some research shows there is a connection
Sir,
between
excuse me,
our
sir.
ability.
Sorry to interrupt. We'll
Oh,
wind up the session soon, sir. We'll start with the question answer session.
okay, spirituality and okay.
We'll wrap up the session. You'll take the time to wrap up the session.
Uh, okay,
Thank you.
so we have five spirituality, physical healing of the body. So many spirit, I mean, spiritual leader. Once they hug, they may feel that that the ailment will go, and emotional healing, what you can do, and the mental healing, and the soul healing, the holistic healing. Okay, since the time is very short, I cannot complete in time. Extremely sorry for that. I thank once again for this given opportunity. And now it's you can start the question answers. Thank you.
We thank you so much for your valuable time, sir, and such an informative session it was. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now let's move on to the question and answer session. People who wants to questions, people can put in the chat box. So the first question is for Seren sir. Sir, can you tell us how does the archaeological knowledge scatters to the management during the disaster?
You can call him a phone. It's hard. Might have thought the session is over. Just to give him call, phone call.
Sure, sir.
Please.
So, sir, this question will direct this question to you, sir. Do you think the role of spiritual care is less understood in the sphere of disaster management?
See, it's question for me.
Yes, sir.
Please go slowly.
Do you think role of spiritual care is less understood in sphere of disaster management?
Yes, I can say that. I can say that spirituality
Sir, can you unmute your mic and talk, sir? We're not able to hear you.
Sir, you've muted your mic, sir. Can you please unmute it? Sir, can you hear us? Hello, sir.
hello, could you hear me?
Yeah, sir, we are audible now, sir.
Oh, sorry. But
Sorry,
it's
sir, it's
spoken,
been
so far spoken is not.
no, sir, it wasn't heard, sir.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, sir.
Sorry. Okay, sorry, but I think
Yes, sir.
there's a technical problem. So it depends upon the type of disaster, and also it depend upon the neighborhood. It also depend upon the religion, and it depend upon the nation. Okay, for instance, you take a COVID. Okay, so in the name of spirituality, that priest, either the victim will go to the spiritual leader, or the vice versa, that the spiritual leader may go to the victim, so they want to give kind of a healing. But with the condition of COVID, nobody is allowed to go near to the COVID patients. So see, in this aspect of people, I think that spirituality may not help. That is one. Number two, that a nation, a country like China, they put in the condition, if any infected person come out of the street, then they'll be shoot out. So again, the people wanted to go to church or mosque or for any other temple for the spiritual healing, and that the government may not allow them to do so. So that's why it a country specific, and disaster specific, and religious specific, and so on. I think now Sharon sir has come.
Sure,
Yes.
sir.
Hello.
Hi,
Is it
sir.
audible? Is it audible now?
Yes, sir, it is audible, sir.
Yeah. Can you repeat the question once again?
Yes, sir. Um, I will move on to the next question, sir. How can we, as a social worker, offer affected people spiritual care if we don't belong to the same community of faith?
Yeah. When you talk about spiritualism, which means it's a common platform, irrespective of religion, you can render the services to the people in distress without talking what you call the essence of the religion. And as a result, as a human being, fellow human being, when you extend the supportive measures of helping them through their rescue operations at times of flood, because that is the real essence of the spiritual quality inbuilt in every individual. So when we approach in that way, people will definitely accept our services. So spirituality is only means that, not confining, because fanaticism should not be there. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Because vulnerability of religion at times will naturally make some percentage of the population who are in actual distress not to use the measures or not to take your assistance or help. But when we go with them in terms of what you call as a fellow to fellow human being, we are rendering the services. So that spirit quality becomes a spirituality, and which in turn will naturally be received with enough support.
Okay, sir. And the next question is also directed to you only, sir.
Yeah, sure.
Uh, can you tell us how the archaeological knowledge caters to the management during a disasters?
Yeah, because as I given you the slide of Lord Krishna lifting the hill in personal context, we may think it's not that much possible. So, as a coward boy, he could have ventured into the hills and the adjoining areas where caves, larger caves might have existed. He might have immediately brought these people at an elevated point and took all these covered settlements and along with what you call their cattle and provided the shelter, immediate rescue from the flooded area of their domicile. So in that way, when we provide such relief measures of evacuating them from the more probable safety area, then rescuing their valuable commodities through the mechanisms like transportation, boating, and other localities, we will be able to provide them how archaeology gives how we have to carry out the disaster management, because invariably in all the sculptural representation of the pan-Indian setup, we get the arm postures like one the palm showing facing upward, the other one facing downwards with the palm facing on either side. One is means Varada, I'll give you boon, do not worry. The other one is like I support you, I am to hug you, I am to help you. So in that way, when we touch the shoulders of the affected people, they will definitely be able to get convinced and comfort with the soothing support of the man who actually enters into the rescue operations. So this should be the tendency. Of course, everyone in the rescue operation team will have such quality, and it is only that spiritual quality the rescue operations have been carried out throughout these years, in a larger extent.
Thank you, sir. That was a wonderful knowledge sharing session. I thank both the speakers for clarifying and addressing all our doubts. Thank you, our dear speakers. Finally, we have come to the valedictory ceremony of the National Webinar Series of Disaster, Vulnerability Mitigation and Reliance. I request our faculty, Ms. Damon Quinn, Assistant Professor, Postgraduate Department of Social Work Shift 2, Madras School of Social Work, to take over the virtual dais.
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible, ma'am.
All right. So you're able to see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Right. Very good afternoon to one and all present here, and I'm here to conclude the 8 series that we had with the National Institute of Disaster Management. So it's been a very good learning experience that we had for all these 8 series on the theme disaster management. So when we had different sub-themes where we had a comprehensive session for 2 hours, having 2 different speakers for each series. And our first series was on transgender and disaster. When we talk about transgenders and disasters, our series being the first one, and we had this inaugural keynote address being delivered by, as part of NIDM, we had Major General Manoj Kumar Bindal, sir, Executive Director for NIDM. He had this keynote address in the context on disaster vulnerabilities, on special focus on mitigation and resilience. In fact, when we talk about disaster, the tone of the entire series has been set a context in focusing on vulnerability, mitigation, and resilience. Instead of only talking about the problems, this time we did talk about not only talk about vulnerabilities, also the mitigating effort taken by both central, state, and other institutions, and also about the resilience part of the community. So this context has been set by our keynote address speaker, Major General, and the first series was on transgender and disaster. In fact, that's one of the interesting session that we did have, especially talking about this pandemic. Though that lockdown, isolation, staying alone was a new concept related to pandemic, but this has been the daily routine of transgender. So the session has a lot of field experience and the practical exposure of people. And we had a session shared by Madhumati, HR professional, talking about how being a transgender, what are the challenges they have faced. And our second session, especially the session series 2, it was on women leadership in disaster risk reduction. The second series had three different speakers. One person is Akila Devi. She's a state assistant program manager from Kudumbashree project. So practically what was women leadership and how it has helped in disaster reduction, especially in the space of government of Kerala. So the session went on really well. And we had another two speakers. One is an academician. So academician is Dr. Miriam Samuel, Head Department of Social Work at Madras Christian College, talking about how resilience is an important factor helping the individuals in getting back to the normalcy during the time of crisis, especially in terms of disaster. And another speaker we had, Ms. Esther Maria Selvam. She's from Action Aid. She was talking about how that there is a need for an empowerment of marginalized group of women, and a lot of field experience that has been shared, and especially it also threw light on the sufferings of women during the humanitarian crisis, focusing more on underprivileged women. So that was one of the interesting sessions that we had. And our series 3 was focusing more on challenging scenarios in educational institution. So we did have combination of two people. One is an academician, Dr. Anish KR he's a former head and associate professor from Rajagiri College of Social Work, Social Sciences. And we did have another person on the practitioner side focusing on a person called Dr. Vijay Shankar. He was focusing more on the educational models, especially when you talk about education, though it's a process of facilitating aspects not only related to knowledge but also skills, values, and beliefs. How this is has been a greater challenge during the pandemic. And a special focus was given on social work students, where the fieldwork is a backbone of the academic learning. So how this, the fieldwork has been halted, and what are the different ways that could be enhanced in order to overcome this pandemic, so that the learning doesn't have greater challenges. And our fourth series was on COVID-19 pandemic crisis and opportunities for community. Though this pandemic has got a lot of crisis in various situations, this series have given an eye-opening on what are the communities, what are the opportunities that has been existing for the community. For that, we had the resource person, Dr. Sumitra Prasad, beautifully explained about the practical experience of her experience of how they have used this disadvantaged situation as an advantage in helping different communities, especially disabled community and disadvantaged community in the different across the state of India. A lot of field sharings was there, and they were not only working for human beings, also for environment. Their greater role, not only affects the human beings but also environment. So what was the role taken by them in order to enhance or preserve the environment during this pandemic? And again, Tamal Maran sir, representing the government, you also explained about what are the different strategies or mitigation efforts taken by government in terms of small loans, or in terms of supporting women during the crisis. And our series 5, it was an interesting series. It was a concurrent disaster during COVID-19 pandemic. What are the lessons learned? When we talk about, every disaster will always have some kind of leave some kind of a learnings for us. So it is best for us to understand the learning so that we will implement it when the next disaster comes, or will be prepared so that so that we can minimize the loss, or to restore or resilient back much better, or we'll come back much better. So this was the major focus of this session. And in this session, we had Ram Kumar sir, IAS sir. He's the joint secretary for health and family welfare department. He was talking more, focusing on community is all about we feeling. How is that the coordination between the community, how individual resilient make one community, and how the community can resilient back, and a lot of interesting experience from the district that he represented, talking about preparation, how it is very important in tackling any kind of a pandemic. So being an IAS officer, he was practically sharing about what is the disaster preparedness plan that he had for his district during this COVID, and that has enhanced the students and many other participants, so that it becomes as one of the best practices of preparedness for any district that could plan for disaster preparedness. And our series 6, which is again was focusing more on disaster risk reduction, how a disaster can be reduced by involving communities. So what is the role of a communities, and opportunities and challenges? For that, we did have two people, and one is Dr. V. Madha sir. So he was talking about practical experience of how the community has been, because it is not only the role of a government or to prevent or prepare to involve in the preparedness plan or involve in the recovery plan. It is also the community has got a major role, because unless and until we don't have the we feeling of the community, the entire recovery process is not going to be fastened. So that has been clearly highlighted in the session. And we did have IAS sir, Davaseelan sir was talking about how he as a in a government personnel, that he was handling the issues in Mon district. There was a 20 days of lockdown that has been implemented in Mon district, how he was successfully able to do it. So what was the challenges that he faced in terms of working with the community, and what should be the community response? So this was our series 6. And our previous series, which is 7th series on role of social workers in disaster management. I think social workers play a major role in disaster management. Only thing is the role have been insignificantly presented. So this series was one of the interesting series that we had. So we had the two field experience person. One is an academician, Professor Andrew Sesiraj from Loyola College. He was also part of the counseling team, psychosocial care provided during the COVID-19. And we had Girija Kumara Babu, one of the experienced renowned social worker, sharing about, any disaster will always have the different processes. The stress was much given on preparedness, response, and recovery. In all these three stages, what is the role of a social worker? This session has been briefly explained well. And one of the interesting factor presented during the session was the psychological impact. Though people talk about the economic loss, people talk about the physical loss, people talk about the livelihood loss, and one of the important loss people take time to recover is a psychological loss, because any disaster is always a crisis for people. So if there is no preparedness is there for such crisis, it takes time for them to recover psychologically. So as a social worker, they have highlighted about what kind of a depression that people will undergo. So what is the role of a social worker in dealing, because as a role of a social worker, we have called to work more on psychosocial rehabilitation. Psychologically, you'll deal with that, and socially also. So this has been well presented during the session. And today we are here for the 8th series. We have completed it. So I'm not going to debrief, because you all have listened to the today's session. So they have focused on spirituality and disaster. So when it comes to spirituality, just a glimpse, spirituality doesn't much talk about religion, talks about the faith, the hope. When it comes to disaster, the one thing which has been highly shaken is the hope. The spirituality talks about the hope. Where do we have a hope? When there is always a hopelessness situation, followed by the hopelessness situation, there's always a worthlessness situation that comes in. So how much we worth ourselves, how much we value our environment, our friends, and our community, and how much hopeful we are. So this is the concept of spirituality and disaster. It's been very beautifully explained by both the speakers, Mr. Seren sir, and again we had Dr. V. Madha said, though there was a time constraint, but the session went on beautifully well. So I'm here also to thank that we have come to the end of this 8 series of national webinar on disasters mitigation, disasters, vulnerability mitigation, and resilience. And we hope that all the participants would have been greatly benefited by that. And I am here indebted to thank a few people on behalf of Madras School of Social Work, and especially PG Department of Social Work Self-Financing. And also I represent Pegasus Student Forum as a coordinator. And we have another coordinator, Ms. Priya Doris. She's an assistant professor. On behalf of both of us and as a department, I'm indebted to thank the National Institute of Disaster Management for giving us an opportunity for collaborating it. And we have this key person, Dr. Ajender. Ma'am has been coordinating with us, and thank you so much, ma'am. Throughout the process, though there is a lot of last minute changes, and especially for 1 or 2 series, we did have natural calamity. When we were discussing about disaster, we also experienced disaster during the time. A lot of rescheduling dates were there, but we did have this processing went on well. We were able to execute all 8 days very smooth. So on behalf of Pegasus Student Forum and the college, I am indebted to thank you for all your collaborations and taking time with us and supporting us and for collaborating. And my special thanks to entire NIDM team that will back up. A lot of people have been working right from executive director to the last person who in NIDM. So our college is indebted, and we are so thankful, and we've been having a great learning experience. And also my great thanks though in the absence of all the resource persons. See, we did have total of 15 resource person, 15 to 16 resource person in our midst. So they have taken their own time and sharing about their learning. So I'm also thank two speakers today, Mr. M. Seren sir and Dr. Madha sir, and also other speakers who have taken their valuable time and sharing with all the topics. And I'm also here to thank our representatives from MSSW, our principal, Dr. S. Raja Samuel sir, who has been a very key support. So since the inception, when we told about this kind of a collaboration, the person was very happy, and for all the support that he has given. And we also thank our head of the department, Dr. C. Francis, for all the guidance that he has given in all 8 days. And I am also thanking all the fellow colleagues of my department who has been supporting us during the time of my absentia or absentia of the coordinator. So we were able to deal. We had a team of 7 faculties, so they were able to contribute well. And my special thanks goes to the Pegasus Student Forum, right from the president to vice president, treasurer, and vice treasurer and secretary, general secretary. They have been doing a beautiful job. Coordinating one single program is not an easy task because all the programs are done online. So we are moving into a new era, digital era. It has been a new experience working for students in online. Everything is online. So I congratulate the entire Pegasus team for their tireless effort in bringing in every program has been a successful one. So I thank them, and my special thanks goes to the CD department, community development. That specialization, both first years and second years, spearheaded initially the proposal writing of NIDM. We did have a discussion with the community development students, so the seed was sown by the students. So special thanks to the community development students. So they have taken it, they have set the base so well, so it has come out really well. And I also thank all the first years and second years, because every session has got a lot of students contribution, right from writing, supporting in writing the concept note, documenting, and we're doing an emceeing, preparing the digital thing. So they have contributed well. So I'm indebted to thank each one of you. So the session has come out really well, and we are glad. In case if I would have forgotten everything, anybody, but your work would have been recognized. So we'll always acknowledge you in the report that we are coming up. And thank you so much, all of you. And my special thanks again to both the speakers. And if Ajandar ma'am is there, much congratulations and thank you to ma'am. So we have been successfully completed this. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. With this, we come to the end of today's session and also NIDM series. Participants kindly fill in the feedback link, which is put in the chat box. The Zoom link will be kept open for the next 10 minutes. Do fill the feedback links. Thank you.
Can I talk to Dr. Madhu Suresh? Hello.
Sure, sir.
So kind of you for the invitation.
Sir, yeah, thank you, sir. We have to thank both of us. Have to thank the student community as well as the school authority.
I thanked them, but it is only through you I could enter into the webinar as an expert to share my experience.
Very kind of you, sir. With the short notice, they requested me, and also you are very kind enough to accept the short notice our request, and you performed very well. Certainly, it may reach to many people through the college students, the parents, and other friends. And I hope the school may invite you also in person once the COVID-19 normalized. Probably they may invite you also for sharing your knowledge for the excavation in Kiladi. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
So kind of you.
Yes, sir.
And I thank one and all, from the principal to the peon, whomsoever involved in this webinar, and to make it a successful event in the annals of Madras School of Social Work, along with NIDM. Thank you.
I too underline the same words, sir. Thank you, sir. Thanks, students. Thanks, principal and other faculty, admission staff, and students community for giving us a choice to sharing our views. Thank you very much. All the best for your future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Reference name, what is